Good evening. I am Marcia Marins, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County, and I am moderator for this evening's Meet the Candidates Forum. Organizing this virtual debate is relatively new and exciting opportunity for the League. Those who have attended our in-person debates will recognize a familiar format, which we can now extend to many more viewers than we could accommodate in a physical space. And we're very pleased that candidates have been eager to join us on this venture. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization. The League places an emphasis on voting, voter registration drives, registrations in high school, mock elections, Take Me to Vote programs in elementary schools, and efforts to streamline voter registration laws are all a continuing part of League activities. The League wants everyone to vote and to be confident that their vote will count, but we also want voters to be informed. Candidates meetings have been around almost as long as the League of Women Voters. In 1924, there was a small booklet published by the League of Women Voters that suggested that we hold pre-election meetings and invite candidates to speak, that we collect and give out nonpartisan information on candidates and issues, and that we conduct candidates meeting as a service to the voters because it gives them an opportunity of forming a firsthand judgment of the candidates, and as a service to candidates because it gives them an opportunity to present their views to audiences of varied political affiliation. The directive and reasoning have not changed through the years, and hundreds of League candidates' nights are held each year. So as you watch and listen to the debate, think ahead about the issues that are most important to you and jot down what you want the candidates to say about them. Do they answer the question? How sincere are they? How knowledgeable are these two candidates on your issues? Keep track of topics. Are they being asked about your priority issues? Are the questions fair and pertinent? And talk about it. Talk about it with your neighbors and your friends and your family. Did this debate sway your decision? Remember to vote on June 22nd as well. So it's a debate, and we, like a referee, will enforce the rules and the time and simply stay out of the way. We have not given the candidates questions in advance, except for the first one, and they will respond unscripted. We have a timekeeper. Look for the timekeeper on your screen. For me, it's on the right. For you, it may be at the top, but make sure you're paying attention to the timekeeper. If any portion of this Meet the Candidates Night is redistributed out of context, we will alert the media and file the appropriate complaints with any applicable governing authority. This recording will be on YouTube, local access channels 1301 in Dunkirk, and on our website. So with us this evening are the Democratic candidates for Dunkirk City Council, Donald Williams Jr. and Natalie Luczkowiak. Both candidates will have 1 minute to respond to a question they received prior to this meeting and include a brief presentation discussing their qualifications. Each reply will be limited to 1 minute. Candidates will also be allowed to rebut or challenge one another, limited to 30 seconds. There will be no counter rebuttals. There will be 1 minute for closing statements. The order of their responses were drawn by lottery prior to the start of this meeting and will be at the same order at closing. And here is the question. What do you consider the most pressing issue facing the city of Dunkirk? And what would you do to address and resolve this issue if elected? We'll begin with Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yes, I think the most pressing issue currently is the obstruction between the council and the executive branch of our city government. And I hear this continuously on my campaign trail. The more we have collaboration within our city government, the more we can develop our city with more jobs, safety, and aesthetic upkeep, along with respect and kindness towards one another. Dunkirk deserves a decent society and nothing less. And I want to return to progress.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
I believe one of the toughest hurdles that Dunkirk has is still the empty NRG building out on Lake Erie near the point. There's been a lot said about how we've had progress before and we don't now. I'd like to say that council did not stop any progress. What stopped progress is COVID. So any people that think that it was council, they're sadly mistaken. It has been COVID that has stopped progress so far. So the other part of one of the larger things to move forward for the city of Dunkirk is for us to be able to get out of the COVID restrictions and get back to somewhat normalcy. I am fully vaccinated. I hope other people get the vaccine, and I hope we can, the more people that get vaccinated, the more likely we are to resume to normalcy that we once knew before COVID.
Thank you. I neglected to say that as part of your opening, you should describe your qualifications for the office. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds each to describe your qualifications for the office that you seek. We'll begin with Ms. Lutzkoviak.
Yes, as a past manager with Macy's and a volunteer who became paid staff with Citizen Action, I learned and embodied the qualities of leadership, working with other people, listening to other points of view, and independence.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
As a lifelong resident of the city of Dunkirk, I'm involved in several different community organizations and have been throughout my adult life and some of my teenage life in the city of Dunkirk with Little League, the Blessed Mary Angela Parish, with the Democratic Committee, and with different things going on throughout the city. And I'm also involved in my union, and we do a lot of similar things. And I just believe that you know, you do have to listen to people, all the people, not just the people from the party that you were elected by.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we will move to a question and answer format. The questions, some of them have been screened by the league from the public or submitted online. So the first question is, how can the city of Dunkirk improve its communication with its residents? We'll begin with Mr. Williams.
I believe that we could have a better newspaper in the city of Dunkirk to help with the residents and the communication with them. We use the radio, WDOE, all the time, and that's a good way to get, you know, today's news out to the people today for things. And my phone is always available. I help people of all parties, everything. If they call me, even if they're in a different ward, I try to do what I can to try to help them out. And so do the other council members that are on there now. We all kind of work together to kind of help each other out and do things. So communication is strong. You think in this day and age, we have, you can text, you can email, you can call the phone, and all our stuff is out there and publicized, and all they got to do is talk to us, and we try to get the information out, and sometimes it's not printed.
Thank you. Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yes, you know, as my opponent plays to the fears I will focus on bringing more resources in. I want to work in partnership with communities, small business organizations. This includes the public voluntary, which includes the Citizen Action Committee that the Don and the council has shunned and been mean to, community and private sectors to develop a vision for our area, working collaboratively and improve services and quality of life for all citizens.
I
Thank you
think I
very
should
much.
be able to get your rebut on that.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. She's trying to say that me and the current council are shunning the Citizens Advisory Committee. We don't shun the Citizens Advisory Committee. We take what they have and we listen to their recommendations, and they are an advisory committee. So sometimes we do what they advise, and other times we decide that that's not the direction that the city should be going. So there is communication there, and we just have to, find where we can agree and move forward. That's not shunning them. Just because you don't do one thing that they want doesn't mean you're shunning them.
Thank you. We will continue. Mr. Williams, you are a union official for the county, and you have negotiated with the city against the union. This is a question. How can you negotiate on one side for the city and one for the county and keep it above board while also doing the best for your constituents?
I don't negotiate for the city, so I don't know where that question comes from.
Okay. All right, that's fine. For both, Dunkirk has seen new businesses coming into the downtown area. Where do you place the credit for this, and what would you do to continue this growth? We'll begin with Ms. Luczkowiak. I'm trying.
It's okay. I think the credit can go to the mayor and his executive team. I think they had a plan and a vision, and a good plan is always a good plan. And I feel that that there's been a lot of growth, and not lately, and I don't think it's because of COVID. One of the reasons why we haven't had growth is because my opponent, he purposefully passed a resolution where you need two council people to put forth a resolution and put the only Democrat on there at a disadvantage. And that was done immediately after the last election. And so there's not equal representation there, but there's a lot more that could be done, that could have been done. There's a lot of people that, I know that have not had COVID stop them, but
thank you. Your time is up.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams.
Well, first to add to that false statement that my opponent just said, we didn't put the two sponsors for a resolution to stop anybody. That was something that's been done for a long time in the past. Some way they got away from it, and we put that on again. And the only one that's actually hurt so far in getting a resolution to the floor is me. The Councilman Bomano did not help me co-sponsor a resolution that he originally said he wanted to. Once the mayor talked to him and said not to, he backed out of it. And so I'm the only one that's been hurt by that. On the other side of it, I'd like to commend the small business owners that have opened up, because they should deserve at least half the credit. I would think even more credit than that. And the economic development department that we have, they've done an outstanding job to get some good small businesses in and line the streets. And I hope we continue to get more in.
Thank you very much. Our next question. If you received $1 million grant to use for the city any way you want it, what would you do with it and why? We'll begin with Mr. Williams.
God, only $1 million? $1 million.
$10 million. Just Go for it.
We have 11.6 million coming to us, and we have very aging infrastructure. Over the last 3 decades, administrations, Republican and Democratic administrations, have balanced the budget off of putting aside the repairs and fixes to infrastructure in the city of Dunkirk. So now that check's kind of payable, where we're dealing with, 30, 40-year-old pipes in the ground that need to be fixed. And if we had the money to do it, I'd like to start working on all the infrastructure and try to get that done. Because as everybody knows, if we have good infrastructure, we'll get good business.
Thank you, Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yes, there is a National Infrastructure Bank. I don't know if anybody is aware of that, and I am a member of that, but I would like to develop a work development program wherein we can join companies that are looking for skilled workers and workers that are people that are looking for work, and join them and together and educate through Jamestown Community College. And this is something I've heard on my campaign trail that is very much needed.
Could I rebut some of that?
A rebut, not
Yeah.
adding. Okay.
No, I just, there, we already have the WIB, the Workforce Investment Board. And we already have workforce stuff that's going on throughout Chautauqua County. Several members of labor are part of that board. The president of our labor council sits on that board and reports to us every month on what's going on with the WIB.
Thank you. Our next question. If you feel the arts is an economic driver, what can the city of Dunkirk do to promote the arts? Mr. Williams.
I believe it all starts with the youth. I think if we can help with the kids get involved in, pick up an instrument, pick up a pad of paper, a pencil, crayons, whatever, to start with arts, I think that's a wonderful thing. Dance, we sponsor a lot of different things. There's a lot of events throughout the city and dance organizations and all kinds of arts. And I believe that, we should, as a city as a whole, not necessarily the city of Dunkirk government, but as a city as a whole, I believe the residents should get out and support the arts a lot more than we do.
Thank you. Ms. Luczkowiak.
Actually, that's a subject close to my heart. My son went to the School of Performing Arts in Buffalo from grade 4 through his senior year. And it's amazing how he was, exposed to all of the arts and not just his. And it brings them so much. They not only had to, carry their regular studies, but they also every day had, and then when they got into high school, 2 classes of their forte, and it brought him so much. And a lot of, even if you don't continue in the arts, it brings you a lot of skills, extra skills. And yes, it is important. I would like to have the schools have a stronger program in the arts. And it's, I know that when there are cuts, that's the first place they cut, and I totally disagree with that.
Thank you. Just as a personal, is there any, Mr. Williams, this question is from you and it's from me. Is there any line in the budget for the arts?
I don't believe there is. We have a lot of lines in the budget, and I don't believe that we have one for the arts.
Okay. It was just a question that came to my mind.
But,
if there's no funding.
I know we do put money through the CDBG to the Adams. I know we have done that. I don't know if they've applied for anything this year, but that's not necessarily the budget, but it's through the CDBG funds.
Thank you. Just a point of knowledge for my own knowledge. For both of you, is there a path to bipartisan achievements when there is strong party loyalty? We'll begin with Ms. Luczkowiak.
Well, in an environment that is not safe to disagree, which is what we have is not an environment focused on growth, but control. We need to bring in a decent and forward-thinking council. We need to have a city government that is going to work for the people of the city of Dunkirk, one that is going to help people get where they want to go. I'll be that councilwoman. That is not what we have now.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm already that councilman that helps in a bipartisan effort to all city residents that need something from me. And I've done that. I have a track record of that. And on the other part of it, as far as within the city courtroom and stuff like that, when we have our meetings, cooperation and bipartisanship and working together, that doesn't just involve one fashion. You know, it involves both sides willing to come together and not be under control. So I'm more than willing to work with our mayor. I've told him several times for the last 3 years, I've told him that I'm willing to work with him as long as he's willing to be more transparent. I think transparent government is a key to a really good democracy, and our current mayor is not transparent.
Can I
Thank
say
you.
something?
You can rebut.
Yes, I mean, you never go to any of the managers of the departments before the meeting. You bring up everything at the meeting instead of going and having collaboration and communication with the departments and the mayor. I mean, I don't understand why that happens. And then you bring these issues that really are non-issues to the floor, because, you know, it's an insult to every single citizen in the city of Dunkirk to make it look like the mayor is doing something, is purposely doing wrong. And that's not.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next question. Is there any specific concern that is unique to the first ward? If so, what is the concern and how would you address it? Ms. Luczkowiak.
Sorry.
I think we need more aesthetic upkeep, and you know, if there is a concern, you know, I will bring it up. Of course, if there's questions and concerns that need to be addressed, I will. But again, you know, communication, because without communication, there's going to start to be imagination, which is a lot of that right now. But I do think we need more aesthetic upkeep in the first ward.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
One of the big things that we need is to take care of our waterfront here in the first ward. Throughout the winter time, our lakefront boulevard is shut down and people can't go down there. If we try to blacktop it in the summer, it falls apart through the harsh winters that we have and the water coming up over. So one of the things that I think that we should work on, and I've been trying to work on this since I got elected, was trying to get segmented offshore breakwaters set off the east coast of the city of Dunkirk, so that once we do that, we would have a beach similar to Presque Isle along the lakefront boulevard that would protect the wall and that would protect the lakefront boulevard. We just have to get some commitment from other council members and maybe the state or the Army Corps of Engineers to get that done so that we can have a beautiful beach from the high rise to the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you very much. Our next question. Do you feel that greater zoning flexibility will allow for profitable development, business success, and a broader tax base? We'll begin with Ms. Luczkowiak.
Well, I think that that might call for like shared services, maybe shared municipality, and if it's efficient, you know, and it's going to save tax dollar monies, then yes, absolutely. I think that we should go forth with, you know, definitely looking at a city like a business and, you know, make it as more efficient as possible. And of course, we want to get more businesses here. And we've been doing that the first 4 years, and we want to do more of that. We want to return to progress of that, and that will bring people jobs. But as far as the efficiency of the city, absolutely need to do that.
Mr. Williams.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Do you feel that greater zoning flexibility will allow for profitable development, business success, and broader tax base?
I believe there might be some areas where if zoning was changing and, flexible, like you said, if zoning was changed to accommodate different businesses, I believe that would be good. But we tried to put a refrigerator warehouse out in the 3rd ward, and the neighborhood didn't want the zoning change. So in that case, it wasn't good. So we weren't going to do it. But if the residents around where the zoning needs to be changed would be willing to accept that zoning change, then I'm all for it. But the community's here now first. And if they're not in favor of a zoning change, then I'm going to have to say that we shouldn't be ready to change the zoning. But I would leave it up to the people. That's why I'm people over politics every time.
Thank you. Our next question. What would you do to reduce the number of vacant buildings and building lots in downtown Dunkirk? Mr. Williams.
Reduce the number of vacant buildings
And building lots.
so they're viable buildings. They're not condemned or anything, because we got some of those.
That's the question.
Okay.
Talk about the vacant buildings, condemned or not condemned, I don't care.
Well, for the buildings that are not in good shape, we have ways to get rid of that with the Straub County Land Bank. And for those that are viable for business and everything, I believe that the Economic Development Department has a list of things that they can offer through the state, through the federal, through the city, through CDBG money, even sometimes, to try to get people in there.
Thank you. Ms. Luczkowiak?
Yes, I would like to see if any of those buildings can qualify for conservation upkeep. If you look up, some of them are amazing structures, and I think that is a way to, then once that is done, to attract businesses that might want to be downtown.
Thank you very much. Our next question, how will you communicate effectively with the mayor and other government agencies whose views differ from your personal views? We'll begin with Ms. Luczkowiak.
Well, first, I would want to meet with every council person and every manager of every department and see what their jobs, what capacity are their jobs. And I want to have a, relationship, a decent relationship with everyone, and be collaborative. And first. And I believe that it's not if you disagree, it's how you disagree. And I don't see why we can't have a civil council, and because it is affecting the citizens. The citizens I happen to know don't like the work there. And, they're very dismayed. And so unfortunately, that has to be fixed first before we can.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Well, contrary to what my opponent said earlier, I do talk to all the department heads before the meeting when I have questions. I give them a heads up. I ask questions between meetings. We do have a great relationship on trying to talk to each other. As far as the mayor and I, when there's issues that he needs to be included on a text or an email or a conversation to try to get something fixed for one of the residents of the first ward or any other part of the city, I include him in on that text or the email. He's included in on everything. Sometimes he responds, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he doesn't need to respond. We've taken care of quite a few things. We don't let any disagreement stop from helping members of the city and the residents of the city get something done.
Thank you. Next question. What are the proposed plans for economic development in the city? Mr. Williams.
The economic development takes a lot of care in trying to I guess you could say woo some businesses here to try to get them to locate in Dunkirk or try to start out a small business in Dunkirk. So the plans usually go from there. I am not on the Economic Development Committee. They usually have those meetings at the time that I'm working. And so I'm not too up to date on what goes on there. But when we do have the meetings and resolutions are coming forward to try to help that, I do reach out to our former economic development director, and then I've reached out to our current economic development director. And I reach out and ask questions and see where we can help, and I push forward. Again, we haven't ever stopped something that was coming that was going to be economic development for the city of Dunkirk.
Thank you, Ms. Lutzkoviak.
Yes, there's a lot of talk, but there's also proactiveness. When Athenex was voted down by the state, our mayor went to Albany and knocked on doors and networked, and we had the vote again and it passed, and the assemblyman even gave kudos to him for that. So I mean, we need he has proven that he can bring business here many times, and he has the formula for that, and so we need to listen to people that can do it, and we should be lucky that we have that formula to do it. And let's continue and let's get back to that progress that's been stifled.
Thank you. Our next question: what do you see in Dunkirk as that may have an environmental impact on the citizens? And if that's a concern for you, what would you do to fix that? What do you see as causing an environmental impact on the citizens of Dunkirk? And if there is something, would that be a concern for you? We'll begin with Mr. Williams.
I've already identified one, and that is the smell that comes from the wastewater treatment plant area in the first ward. I've discussed it since we're in the phases to try to fix and upgrade the wastewater treatment plant. The director of Public Works, Randy Woodbury, has assured me that we are going to be putting scrubbers on the venting system to get that smell out of the buildings, that the solid wastewater treatment, once it's treated, it becomes solid and gets put in a big building, and then that smell comes out and hits the whole first ward area by Wright Park. So we're trying to alleviate that, and supposedly scrubbers are going to be put in over there so that that smell does not come out and negatively affect the area around the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yeah, I would like to have a resolution in the city that all businesses that come into our area have built their buildings with total green, clean energy. And that is something I actually mentioned at a committee meeting long time ago that my opponent didn't like, but we're way behind the times because many cities are doing that, and it's things are turning now, and I think I would like to see Dunkirk turn towards that way as well.
Thank you.
If I could rebut on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm all for green energy. I'm not for forcing businesses to be all green energy. I have been the one that has consistently been, and when you end up seeing solar panels on the water filtration plant in the second ward on the lakefront, when you see them up on there, that's because I've been pushing for it since 2016. So I am a fan of green energy. I'm not a fan of giving another layer of red tape to businesses that want to locate in the city of Dunkirk by saying that they have to be all green.
Thank you.
I would like to rebut on that. There are many.
No, you can, there's no counter rebuttals. you
Oh,
can
okay.
mark it for another, in your closing statement or something. Because what happens is they go back and forth, rebuttals go back and forth, and then we never end. So only one rebuttal and no counter rebuttals. If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new infrastructure, road, bridge, whatever, in Dunkirk, how would you evaluate whether that project was worth implementing? Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yes, I first, I definitely would like to get all of the citizens involved with that. We would need to do research, see if that particular infrastructure has been built in other cities, contact and see what their, how they're in reaction with that. And we would definitely need to do research and really, get some answers, and it would, before we did that, before we went forward, for sure.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Well, fortunately, there's been a couple people that have come forward asking for us to put new streets in 2 different places in the 1st ward. And I have successfully carried that out through the DPW committee, which I chair. And we are going to be putting a through street on Ounce Street, or not on Ounce Street, on Cedar Street that comes off of Ounce. And currently there's a dead end and people have to turn around and get out of there. And that's going to be a one-way street that'll go through to Wright Park. And then another spot that we're going to be building another road is towards the end of the skate park parking lot. That's going to go from there, and it's going to extend to North Serval Street. By doing that, then people that want to drive the lakefront and come around, they can now, once again, I mean, years and years ago, we had a street that came up by the Beach House Grill and went around to Wright Park. Well, now we're going to have a road again that goes from Serval to, and then it'll end up hitting North Warsaw.
Thank you. This question is for Ms. Luczkowiak. If you are elected, how will you address issues brought to City Hall?
Well, I would definitely like to speak with the resident to make sure I have, clearly understand what the issue that they have. And then I would seek the proper people in City Hall to speak with regarding that matter, and see how we can follow, we can resolve that. I definitely would follow through with everything, as I have already been doing, as people are asking questions. And there's a lot I don't know, but I certainly can learn and read and comprehend and be coherent once I know a subject. I'm not worried about that. And there's, and I have been learning on my campaign trail already.
Thank you very much. Question for both of you. What makes you the best person to be the next 1st Ward Council person? Mr. Williams.
Plain and simple, people over politics. I am a registered Democrat. I have Democratic ideals. I've supported Democrats all the way through, but I won't play the party politics and sit there and try to stop something just because something's a Democrat, or I get yelled at by my Democratic committee members that say that I sponsored a resolution with the Republican that's on council. So it's crazy that even has to be brought and talked about. On the local level, politics should really be local, and that's it. So I reach out to all the members of the city of Dunkirk and listen to what they have to say and go by what the majority of them say. And the majority of them like what we're doing with the people over politics, and like that they can talk to somebody and they're going to work on what their issues are.
Stop.
Thank you. Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yes, after my opponent did not receive the Democratic endorsement, he took no time going over to the other side asking for their endorsement, and he was denied. So I think that no, so I want everyone to know that I will serve Dunkirk without condition. I will leave any egos and grudges at the door. I will not have a second agenda. I clearly just will make decisions for the city of Dunkirk, for the goodness of the city. And that's the only reason why people should have that position, not for friends and family plan, which my opponent has taken advantage of. And
Thank you. Timekeepers, I can hear you. So mute yourselves.
And I'd like to rebut.
30 seconds.
Okay, number one, when I did not get the endorsement of the Democratic committee locally, which was no surprise to me because they kind of rigged it so that my opponent would get it. And I went out and I started getting petitions made to run a primary. So I did not seek the Republican endorsement. I did not seek the other endorsements. I couldn't get I did try for the Working Families Party. I did not get that. So I don't know where she's coming up with this stuff, but I would never change parties. I'm a Democrat, so I'm not going to change parties to Republican to try to get anything.
Thank you very much. I am out of questions, so we will allow 1 minute for a concluding statement. And we will start with Ms. Luczkowiak.
Yes, as the real Democrat, I will make sure we return to a civil and workable council. I will address all issues that residents bring forth. However, I will not create an issue because of personal grudges. As the endorsed Democratic candidate, we will return to progress and create a better world for ourselves. Residents have been threatened for having my sign up. This is not who we are. A vote for me is a vote for a kind and caring community, one where we look out for each other, where bullying and thug-tie politics are out of the question. The city is tired of the smoke and mirrors show. I and the city residents want a council that communicates with the mayor and the managers of departments in order we can return to progress. The City of Dunkirk residents can see that when you can't disagree professionally, you are looking for power and growth. And he did go seek the Republican. I'm sure I have proof of that. And he did.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Williams.
I just want to say again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us on and having this forum to educate the voters in this issue. I've been here all my life. I've been in Dunkirk. I volunteered. I've done things with different organizations, church, Little League, clubs, everything. I'm out in the public. I talk to the people and I do what the people tell me that they want me to do. And I'm not listening to the party leaders like my opponent would be doing if she's elected. I believe in people over politics. That's the big mantra of my campaign. And I believe in transparency in government. We lack that currently with the current mayor that's in there. I'm hoping that he'll come around and I hope that he'll start to be more transparent so that we can all start getting along again. But that's the biggest argument we have with him is his lack of transparency.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Pat Carell and Tina Rauza from the League for putting this debate together. Jack and Mary Croxton, who are our timekeepers, husband and wife team. It's pretty hard to do something like this as a husband and wife team. I want you to know that voting is an essential step in the process of democracy. In exercising our choice for elective office, we affirm our faith in the democratic process. This election is about who you want to represent you in your party in the Dunkirk Common Council in the election in November. Participate in your government. Let your voice be heard by voting on June 22nd. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and early voting will take place at the county fairgrounds 10 days prior to that. I think it's June 12th, if I'm not mistaken. And you have to check for the times on the County Board of Elections website. Thank you both for participating. I think you did a great service to your constituents in Dunkirk. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you.